Max and GNC, you ready?
Right, Max, we're ready.
GNC's go.
And we're ready, Willie. No deltas.
Copy that, Delta.
Go ahead, Max.
FYI, I've just lost 4 separate temperature transducers on the left side of the vehicle, hydraulic return temperatures.
GNC flight.
Flight GNC.
Everything went good to you? Control and rates and everything is nominal, right?
Control's been stable through the rolls that we've done so far, Fly. We have good trims. I don't see anything out of the ordinary.
Okay.
The tires are feeling pressure on left outboard and left inboard, both tires.
And Columbia, Houston, we see your tire pressure messages, and we did not copy
Is it
your last.
instrumentation, Max?
Flight Max, those are also off.
Roger.
There's 7 people in that thing.
Wow.
Look at the chunks coming off of it.
Yeah.
What the heck is
I
that?
don't know, but I see what you're saying.
Columbia, Houston, com check. Columbia, Houston, UHF com check. Columbia, Houston, UHF com check. Columbia, Houston, UHF com check.
GC flight. GC flight.
Fly GC.
Lock the doors. Copy.
Go for main engine start.
We have a go for main engine start. Mission and liftoff of Discovery, celebrating its 25th birthday by racking up science and supplies to the space station. The solid rocket boosters a little away.
Columbia, Houston, UHF com check. Roger, roll.
On January 23, 2003, NASA Flight Director Steve Stitch sent an email to the crew of STS-107, the 28th flight of Space Shuttle Columbia. At the time, the shuttle was orbiting the Earth at an altitude of around 270 kilometers. The email read as follows. During ascent at approximately 80 seconds, photo analysis shows that some debris from the area of the YET bipod attach point came loose and subsequently impacted the orbiter left wing in the area of transition from shine to main wing, creating a shower of smaller particles. The impact appears to be totally on the lower surface, and no particles are seen to traverse over the upper surface of the wing. Experts have reviewed the high-speed photography, and there is no concern for RCC or tile damage. We have seen this same phenomenon on several other flights, and there is absolutely no concern for entry. The decision reflected in this email was the result of several weeks of flight risk management testing and discussion. Columbia had, as the email stated, been struck by a piece of the left bipod foam ramp from the external tank during its launch. This wasn't entirely unusual. There is an enormous amount of thermal insulation foam on the external tank, and every single flight had saw foam shedding during launch. This was a particularly large piece, roughly the size of a suitcase, but it still wasn't initially considered to be cause for serious concern. However, unbeknownst to the crew, 2 days into the flight, a piece of the leading edge left wing fell off, damaged by the foam strike, leaving a gaping hole in the wing. While this isn't a problem in the vacuum of space, it would become potentially deadly during atmospheric re-entry. Meanwhile, on the ground, NASA officials analyzed the launch footage and ran tests. Much of the discussion was centered around exactly what had been damaged: the thermal protection tiles on the wing's lower surface, or the reinforced carbon-carbon leading-edge panels. By many officials, the issue was designated a turnaround issue, meaning there would be no problems during landing, but the shuttle would require extensive repairs before its next flight.
We would get vehicles back on the runway and have lots of damage of this type to the heat shield tiles in the thermal protection system. And so we had a lot of experience with dings and nicks and chunks out of tiles that turned out to be a reuse issue. And so that's what I had understood this to be. And so I didn't have any concerns as we entered into the preparations for deorbit and entry and landing.
After more discussions, more tests, and a struggle with the Department of Defense regarding the use of spy satellites to image the orbiter for further damage analysis, the email was sent to the crew and the decision was made. The shuttle would deorbit as scheduled. It would never reach the ground in one piece, and all 7 crew members would be killed. On February 1st, 2003, at 02:30 Eastern Standard Time, the flight control team began duty at Mission Control. At 0800, Flight Director Leroy Kane called for a go-no-go response from the flight control team. With the weather and all available systems nominal, a go response was given at 0810. At 0844, Columbia's descent began. Unbeknownst to either Mission Control or the crew, a sensor similar to a flight recorder logged a higher than usual temperature on the left wing at 0848. 1 minute later, Columbia executed a roll to the right at a speed of Mach 24.1, called a banking turn to manage lift and further slow the vehicle. Everything seems to be proceeding normally. At 0853, Columbia is seen from the ground above the west coast of the United States. Several people recorded debris shedding from the vehicle, immediately indicating a serious problem that both the crew and Mission Control were still unaware of. Their first hint would come 1 minute later, when 4 hydraulic fluid temperature sensors on the left wing stopped responding.
FYI, I've just lost 4 separate temperature transducers on the left side of the vehicle, hydraulic return temperatures.
Director Kane responded and attempted to figure out exactly what had happened.
4 high return temps?
To the left outboard and left inboard elevons.
Okay, is there anything common to them? DSC or MDM or anything? I mean, you're telling me you lost them all at exactly the same time.
No, not exactly. They were within probably 4 or 5 seconds of each other.
Okay. Where are those? Where is that instrumentation located?
All 4 of them are located in the aft part of the left wing, right in front of the elevon actuators. And there is no commonality.
No commonality.
With nothing to do about it and no visible effect on the descent, flight controllers continued to monitor the situation. At 0859, the final exchange was had between crew and Mission Control. Flight controllers found an abnormal pressure reading on the landing gear tires, and this knowledge was being relayed to Columbia. Commander Rick Husband was in the middle of replying when communication was permanently lost.
The tires feeling pressure on left outboard and left inboard, both tires.
And Columbia, Houston, we see your tire pressure messages, and we did not copy
Is it
your last.
instrumentation, Max?
Flight Max doors are also off. Roger.
A few seconds later, the vehicle lost hydraulic pressure, the master alarm would have sounded, and the vehicle began to pitch about uncontrollably and disintegrated. Fortunately, a strange word to use in this situation, I am aware, the crew cabin would have lost pressure quickly enough to render the astronauts unconscious, sparing them their final descent before the cabin broke apart completely. While Columbia's loss was being witnessed and videotaped by numerous people on the ground, Mission Control calmly tried to re-establish communication with the shuttle.
Columbia, Houston, comm check. Columbia, Houston, UHF, comm check.
I'd like to stay where we're at.
Columbia, Houston, UHF, comm check.
None was made. The crew was gone.
I can probably even show you, if you have the mission control video, where that thought was going through my mind.
Fido, when are you expecting tracking?
1 minute to go, flight.
Columbia, Houston, UHF, comm check.
A few minutes later, Director Kane was informed of reports of the orbiter being seen to break apart, and he declared a contingency, calling for the doors to Mission Control to be locked.
GC flight. GC flight.
Flight GC.
Lock the doors. Copy.
No one would be allowed to leave until every single inch of data was collected, cataloged, and triple-checked. Search and rescue missions were launched. In the wake of the loss of the shuttle program's flagship, an investigation called the Columbia Accident Investigation Board was formed. While NASA was put under scrutiny possibly more severe than during the Challenger disaster, a memorial was held on February 4th. President George W. Bush led a service for the crew's family members at the Johnson Space Center. Each crew member, as well as those of Challenger, would be given posthumous Congressional Space Medals of Honor. The Columbia Accident Investigation Board formed a number of conclusions during their research. It was extremely critical of NASA's decision-making and risk assessment processes, leading to a number of high-level employees being dismissed. It was also very critical of its risk analysis of foam shedding, citing the confusing stance NASA held that while foam strikes were very common, the orbiter's wings were not designed to handle significant impacts. A question of utmost importance is whether or not the crew could have been rescued. While the shuttle's inclination to orbit was too far off to rendezvous with the International Space Station as a safe haven, the possibility of expediting the next shuttle flight was considered. Columbia was stocked with more consumables than usual, and could have remained in orbit until Flight Day 30, giving them a 5-day overlap with an expedited launch of Atlantis to rescue them. While expediting a shuttle launch sounds dangerous, NASA investigators determined that it could have been done with no essential safety checks being skipped. Another option, though far riskier, was an on-orbit repair. This was considered the least favorable option, as the safety of available repair materials couldn't be properly verified. In my opinion, any option is more favorable than the decision that was made. NASA was responsible for 7 lives being lost because they decided to do nothing and hope for the best. No space shuttle would fly again for nearly 3 years.
The difference would have been that we on the ground and the crew on board would have known. And that of course would have been maybe even unbearable for some.
If you like this video, please give it a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe to my channel, which is Dead Kennedy in Space. If you want to support me further, consider donating on Patreon or purchasing some of my work through Amazon or Teespring. Thank you, and I'll see you over the curve, Space Cowboys.
Live there, on the mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam, in a vast cosmic arena.